Cassie, first, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. For folks who are watching this whole interview on Rudy Blair Entertainment Media at rudyblairmedia.com, Cassie and I were basically waiting for the last 20 minutes to be on Zoom, but Zoom had me in another meeting. You decided you were going to read some emails. We're both sitting around going, why is this interview not happening? But I am not going to complain because thank goodness that we can do this kind of stuff, especially
Absolutely.
throughout COVID. So I just want to say thank you so much for doing the interview with me.
Thanks for having me. I'm not going to complain either. I got a couple things done while we went through that tech mishap. So,
The things we have to adjust to, how has it been for you dealing with COVID and for the last year and a half and adjusting to this new world and, trying to record music, trying to get yourself promoted out there? Like, what has that been like for you?
it's been weird. Luckily I've stayed healthy and everyone I know stayed healthy. So that's the most important thing. But, um, first of all, I just so miss being around people and family and friends. But I've released every single this past year while we've been in lockdown and shot videos while we were like in severe lockdowns, like couldn't go to the store to buy props, like had to be so creative. I think that it pushed me to be more creative and think outside the box with how I was doing things. And also, I got to spend a little more time that I probably wouldn't have had I been working my two side jobs with with everything. So it actually worked out because I got to put all my energy into this. So I'm thankful for that. And yeah.
Well, congratulations on the new music because we're going to talk about the
Thank
new
you.
singles that you have. But before we get into that, the love of music, where does that all start for you?
I started playing piano when I was 6. But there was always music in our house. We had like a built-in sound system, and my parents were always blaring music throughout the house. So the moment we got in the door, I would say the music was on before the lights were on. So always listening to music, and my older siblings played piano, so I of course wanted to play piano. And then I started to like singing, and it just kind of went from there. Writing was just I needed a way to get my thoughts out and started writing poems, and it turned into songs, and here we are. So,
Who would you say musically has been your biggest influence and why?
I think as a songwriter or someone who got me to start thinking this was something I could do was Taylor Swift. I'm a huge Swiftie, and hearing how honest she was in her writing was a game changer for me. And like the fact that I could relate to songs about, having my heart broken when I was like in the 6th grade and hadn't like she just puts it in a way that you feel like you're in the story. And through every phase of her career, I've just been more and more inspired by how she's handled herself and the songs she's writing. So she's a really big one for me.
Have you ever seen her in concert?
I haven't yet. No, no. I
Well,
know.
I know,
Shocking.
no, no, no. But hopefully, it's going to happen in the future as things are slowly starting to open up and tours are being announced all over. So who knows? Maybe she'll be
Absolutely.
back in your area and we can make that all happen. But for you though, performances, what were you doing to get your name out there? Where were the places that you were performing at?
Everywhere. I started out in folk music actually when I was in my teens in high school, and I was playing any open mic or coffee house around town. I'm from a smaller town, so it wasn't a lot, but I did whatever I could. And then I moved out to BC and went to recording school there. And when I finished recording school, I was just playing any bar, restaurant. I was busking downtown Vancouver for a long time.
Wow.
Just playing anywhere I could. The busking was probably the best thing I ever did because um, you just have to let go of a lot of things, and just get comfortable with playing and playing to no one, playing to people who stop. And that made me the most comfortable with playing and made me practice the most. So yeah, that was kind of that. And then I moved back here and things kind of started happening. So
Now, just curious though, because this business can be a business of ego. Was it a humbling kind of thing for you doing that? Because we're so used to seeing people like yourself, on the big stage performing for audiences and, being driven in and all these other things. But having to start like that, I mean, does it give you some special roots in knowing where you came from and where you're going?
Yeah, I think so. I think like starting early on in folk, I'd play like a house concert where there'd be like people playing in different rooms around the house and people would get to walk through, and sometimes there'd be like two people in the room. And I remember my mom saying to me, I was a teenager at the time, and there were a couple people, so I didn't play some of my favorite songs because I was saving it for later. And my mom told me, you can't do that ever again, whether it's two people in the room or hundreds or thousands of people in the room. You need to play like they're the most important people that you'll ever play for. And that totally changed my outlook from that point on, and that stuck with me. So whether I was busking on the street to like two people or no one walking by, because you never know who's going to hear you, and you never know who's going to stop or who it's going to affect. And the people I'd get messages from after they heard me busking on the street that I didn't even recognize or see, like that stuff really, really impacted me. So I've just taken that with me now. And hopefully I continue to do that.
So what changed? You said coming back and everything changed. And of course, we're talking the style of music changed too.
Mhm.
What exactly changed and how did the momentum keep going to where we are now?
Yeah, I mean, throughout that time, I had started doing some writing camps and stuff before I even moved back. And I was writing some like EDM top lines and writing pop songs for other people. And I love pop music. I was just making folk pop music. So I started wanting to make pop music more. Then I got signed, and it just kind of happened pretty quickly. I'd been recording a folk pop album, and then when I got signed, I was like, I got signed as a folk pop artist, but I was like, actually, I really want to make pop music now, and they were cool with that. So I got to kind of venture into that world and just wrote a ton. But that kind of happened pretty quickly. But there's a couple of years now of just like a lot of development, and now I'm an independent artist and getting to the place that I'm at. There's a lot of time, but just the whole switching over. I mean, it was years in the making, but it probably looks like it was a fast thing.
How
Yeah.
how did you get signed?
That's funny, actually. I went to Canadian Music Week, and I was with a couple friends, and actually, my boyfriend's in a band, and I was at his show. And one of my friends was like, "Hey, I'm going to this like Universal party. If you want to come with me." And my boyfriend was about to step on stage. She's like, "I think you should come. I think you should come. It's like a jam night." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to the party." So I went to the party, and everyone was, it's kind of like just a jam. So people were getting up and playing songs, and I got up and played a couple songs, and there were some important people in the room, and that's how I got signed to them. So yeah.
So people know this. Canadian Music Week to me is probably one of the biggest music festival events, get-togethers, whatever you want to call it, conferences in
Hmm.
Canada every year. And I miss it for the last 2 years. Um,
I know.
I like the way you glanced over the Universal party because I want people to know exactly how cool is it to be at these kind of, whether it be Universal, whether it be Warner, whether it be whatever big record company
Hmm.
it is, Sony. What's it like to be in there, and who can you end up running into at these parties?
Well, the funny thing is, I didn't know anyone who was in the room, which
Mhm.
probably was for the best because I had no idea what I was stepping into, right? So I'm just up playing songs, and then I played a couple things, and then after someone came up and talked to me, they're like, "Hey, I'd like really like to get your contact information. Like, I love it. I want to learn more about you." And I was like, "Okay." And then I left that conversation, and my friend Laurel was like, that was the president of Universal Canada that you're just talking to. And like, thank God I didn't know because I was so naive and younger at the time, and I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea. So it's probably for the best, but it helped that like I had really been busting my butt the last while before that because I actually had stuff ready that I was doing independently at the time anyways. So I had stuff to show. So it's like a really good story of like timing but also luck, being at the right place at the right time, but like having prepared for it. So yeah.
So I guess your boyfriend forgave you for not being at a show.
He forgave me. Yeah.
Yes, smart man, smart man. So because we're gonna be talking about this EP in a second,
Mhm.
did you have this recorded before the pandemic or during the pandemic?
I actually had just wrapped it up at the end of 2019, was wrapping it up into the beginning of 2020. So like we were finishing mixes up early 2020, and then this all went down. So I had some decisions to make as to when to put things out, and obviously ended up deciding to wait it out till this year. But yeah, luckily I got all the travel and recording out of the way before.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get to it. Let's make this part official. What's the name of the EP and what is it about in this part of your career?
It's called Enough, and it's a mix of songs about relationships, mostly breakup songs, but there's a love song in there, which I think I grappled with including, but I felt it important to put the love song in there because my experience with relationships and emotions surrounding them hasn't always been super linear. Like, I don't think that you break up with someone and then just poof, all those feelings are gone, or you've worked through everything. So I had in my life been experiencing being totally happy with someone new, but then also like delving into unresolved feelings from past relationships. So I was kind of writing and experiencing these things like not in the right order, if that makes sense. So I just thought that one, for my boyfriend who's so great and has had to sit there while I've released all these breakup songs.
Well, I was going to ask, like, was he sitting there going, are you trying to give me a message or something?
No, he gets it. Like, he knows, as an artist himself, like, he knows. Because as a musician, like, you're constantly reopening wounds to write about things or to relate to. Even when I'm writing with other writers and they've just gone through a breakup, I'm like, oh, I can sympathize with that because I went through that. And you're just delving into the past all the time. And also, exes have a way of popping back up when they shouldn't. So
Yes.
that happened too. So that's addressed. But yeah, I just thought, relationships in general, it was just kind of a broad span of things within the relationship realm, mostly fun, sassy breakup songs, but also had to give a little nod to my boyfriend and give him one, so that's where the title track comes in. But yeah.
I'm curious because I have to go back to what you said about exes popping up. Did this particular ex who popped up was like when things are really happening for you and things are good, you got the, with the contract and everything else, was it one of those where he's like, "Oh, she's famous. I got to get back running back to her."
No, I don't think they could care less about that. I think a lot of the time with people I've dealt with in the past, it has everything just to do with them, like whoever they have been dealing with, it hasn't quite worked out with them, and that's when they seem to pop back up or just
Ah.
check in. Hey, just checking in how things are going. It's like, oh, you must, that must not have worked out for you. So
Oh wait,
that's
and that's in the music.
yeah, so there's a song called, the first single I put out is called Unsolicited Contact.
Let's talk about that
song,
one.
yeah, that song is actually written, it's real, all these songs are real stories. Every detail is actually true, especially with this one. And this song, Unsolicited Contact, was about my ex texting me on my birthday, not knowing it was my birthday, to tell me about the new girl he was entangled with. So yeah, so I wrote a song about it because what else do you do with that?
Oh my goodness. I want to jump into I don't trust anyone anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you don't even have to write the song. The title just says it all right there.
Yeah, I'm not one for short titles.
Where does
Yeah.
that one come from? Like the basis on it, if I even need to ask.
Well, I don't trust anyone anymore. Yeah, it does speak for itself, but it's basically about, one of the lines is like, you told me that you loved me. Did you feel so high above me when you took your words back from me? So it's basically about having been in a long-term relationship and it ended, and they basically said, like, I'm not sure if I ever really loved you. And it just felt like the rug was pulled out from under me. And I was like, how can I trust anything that I thought was my reality if you're saying this? Like, if I thought that was the truth all along, how can I even trust myself? So it was kind of me working through that and that scenario, and like just this weird thing of like what was actually real and what counted. So that's what that song's about.
And
Real simple,
interesting
but
too. You kind of mentioned something earlier. I want to go back to also
Hmm.
about the videos and how creative you had to be. Talk a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so I mean, for Unsolicited Contact, I planned that video for a long, long time, and I handmade a ton of the props. Like I hand bedazzled old flip phones and made a giant pinata myself. Like I really went in because one, for budgetary reasons, and two, because there was not a places to source things at the time. I don't trust anyone anymore was the hardest one, because I really hadn't planned on doing a video for that song, and then we we decided to, and all the Ontario was in a major lockdown, so like you couldn't get anything from any store. So like, for example, with the outfits, I had to order everything online and they didn't come in time. So the day before the video, I had to basically phone up every store that was doing curbside pickup, and I was like, what do you have in yellow? Give me an extra small, I'll take it, I don't care. Like I was picking stuff up and running around, and we were styling it like the night before because everything we planned didn't come in time. And then actually, one scene in, the stuff arrived at my mom's door, and she drove it all the way down to Toronto and came, and it all worked out. But it was just like, oh my gosh, all over the place. And sourcing props was so hard too because no stores were open. So we were like doing like Facebook Marketplace and like crazy things to get stuff. So yeah, we had to just be really creative about it, but it makes for a good story, I guess.
I
It was
love it.
very stressful.
I love it. And folks need to check out the videos. They're very, very cool. Would never
Thank
have thought there was stress behind that. It would look like everything was planned out. So good on you.
you.
What
Thank
advice
you.
do you give either females or males if, exes do pop up out of nowhere? Um, it's happened to me. It's probably,
Well,
happened
I
to all
mean,
of
you
us.
could send them one of my songs. There's a
I,
thing you could do.
I
I really
like
don't
that.
have the words.
I like that. Leave it to that. I love that. As we talk about things opening up too, finally, what's going to happen with you in performances? Ontario slowly opening up. Hopefully, we don't screw this up and we end up in a fourth wave. But
Fingers
what's going to
crossed.
happen with you when it comes to live performances or virtual performances?
Yeah, I mean, it's super hard to plan around. I think people might be a little tired of virtual performances. I know that like at the beginning of the pandemic, it was like, oh, this is so fun and new, and everyone was on Instagram Live and doing all of that like every day, and it was a lot. So I think hopefully someone will want to take me on tour because I would love to do that. It's been difficult to kind of anticipate and plan, so we'll see. But yeah, I might do a couple little online things, but it's a little exhausted at the moment. So for now, I'm just enjoying, like, I'll do random like sing you to sleep type things on TikTok live and stuff like that, just for fun. And yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully I can get myself on a tour.
Fantastic. Look,
Yeah.
congratulations with the music, the new EP. Love the stories behind it. And, you're one of those people where you're kind of like, man, if she's dropping this kind of an EP, I can't wait to see what happens if she drops another EP or album because I know you've got more great stories to tell
Lots up
about
the sleeve.
not just about your life, but everybody's lives, what we've all gone through. Thank you again for
Oh,
the interview and
thank
cross
you.
fingers. Things keep safe. The next interview we can do one on one together. Thank you again.
Thanks so much.